Hello everyone, welcome to my computer science class. I am Beena, faculty at Silver Hills Public School, KOZHIKODE. Today we will be discussing about conditional and looping constructs, one of the important chapter in class 11 which builds foundation for basic programming skills. This chapter is also included in class 12 syllabus 2. Those who are preparing for the board examination, you can just go through this presentation. This presentation will help you a lot. Now let us move on to the chapter. Now there is a picture. What do you infer from this picture? It is a signboard and it shows that you reached at a junction and you have to decide whether you have to turn to right or left, isn't it? In real life also, we have to come across so many situations like this. For instance, as a mother, I have to choose between whether I have to make dosha or chapati for breakfast. As an 11th grader, you might have confused between whether you have to go for non-engineering career or engineering career ahead. All these situations, there will be a final answer. Yes or no. For example, in this case, final answer may be turn right. As a mother, in what to make for breakfast, final answer may be chapati. As an 11th grader, your final answer may be choose the career engineering. In programming languages too, there are lots of situations we have to come across. For example, while calculating grade for a student based upon the mark. If mark is greater than 90, we have to give the grade A1. If mark is greater than 80, we have to put the grade A2, something like that. Now we will move on to another beautiful picture. What is it? It is an iterative process occurring in nature. What is an iterative process? Iterative process means repetition of certain cycles. For example, this butterfly lays egg, turns into a caterpillar, pupa, then matures as a beautiful butterfly. This cycle repeats by laying eggs by the butterfly again. We can see this situation in our surroundings also. For example, the season change. Winter, spring, summer, autumn. This cycle repeats again and again. In programming languages too, we have to repeat a certain statement or certain steps or functions again and again, that is known as iterative or looping constructs. This chapter is a big chapter, so I have divided this chapter into two. In part 1, we will be discussing about program flowchart and conditional constructs. In part 2, we will be discussing about iterative constructs and jumping statements. Okay, first we will start with program flowchart. What is a flowchart? It is a diagrammatical representation of logical concept of a program, or we can say that pictorial representation of a program is known as flowchart. It is self-explanatory. That means once a program flowchart is created for a program, we can easily convert that program flowchart into any of the programming language. That means we can convert that flowchart into Java, C++, Python or any other language. Now, most of the cases the programmers use this as tool for solving a problem. Now, let us see how we can draw program flowchart. Now, this flowchart will help you art integrated learning also. Okay. Now, there are certain symbols used for creating a flowchart or drawing a flowchart. The symbols are, first one is that oval shape which indicate the start or end of a particular program. And the second one is arrow symbol or connector, which shows the flow of information or flow of control in a program, and it is a connecting symbol too. And the next one is a rectangle which indicate the process. Process means the calculation or steps included in a program. For example, suppose that you want to calculate the area of a rectangle, A is equal to L into B. Okay, this is known as a process. You can represent that process by using this rectangle. Now, another symbol is this parallelogram, which is used for giving value or printing value from the computer. For example, you want to print the grade, or you want to print name of a student, or to generate progress report or something like that, you can have this parallelogram symbol. Now, another one is this diamond shape, very important in program flowchart. Now, we are going to learn about this conditional constructs, where we are going to use this diamond shape. This is for taking decision, either yes or no, true or false. This is condition or decision, which is used for taking decision in a program. Now, let us see how to develop a program flowchart for a program. Suppose you want to calculate area of a rectangle. As I said earlier, in order to start the program flowchart, you should use the symbol oval shape, which indicate the start of the program. Therefore, we can start it with that. First, start symbol. Okay. Now, the next step is you have to input length and breadth of the rectangle. Which symbol we have to use? See, the symbol used is input output symbol, that is parallelogram. Okay. Now, we can use a connector and you can draw this parallelogram where you can ask for length and breadth. You can write input length and breadth. Now, the next step is you have to calculate area of the rectangle. In order to do that, you can have a process symbol where you can write A is equal to length into breadth. Now, the next task is you have to display the area. For that, again you can use the symbol parallelogram and you can write print area, print A. Now, see, this flowchart you can easily convert into any of the programming language. For example, suppose that you want to convert this flowchart into Python, what you can do is, first task is you have to start the program, then you can input, you can write length is equal to int of input, so and so, you know what is the statement, you have to write it here. Then you can input breadth by int of, or evaluate function you can use input, you can input the value by using proper statement. Okay. Then the next step is A is equal to length into breadth, you can calculate it by using length into breadth. Then you can finally print the answer, print A, that is print area is equal to, you can write the proper message A. See, I have converted this flowchart easily into a program. This is the use of a flowchart. This is self-explanatory. Okay. Now, we will move on to another program, that is, suppose that you want to draw flowchart for finding average of 3 numbers. Again, it is simple. First, you have to start with start symbol. Okay. Then you have to calculate average of 3 numbers. Therefore, you can input 3 numbers by using this shape, that is input. You can ask for A, B, C. Now, the next task is to calculate average of 3 numbers, that is A plus B plus C whole divided by 2, where you can write average is equal to. Now, you can print average by selecting that again that parallelogram, print average. So, easy to draw the flowchart. Okay. Now, we will discuss about flowchart in coming session. Now, we will move directly into conditional construct, that is selection or decision statement. Okay. Before that, we will learn what is a program flow or program control flow or flow of control in a program. Just to go through the previous diagram. The program starts from here. Now, we have to input 3 numbers A, B, C. Now the next part is calculate the average, or the next task is calculate average by a plus b plus c by 2, sorry, a plus b plus c whole divided by 3, then you can print average. Okay, this is known as flow of control in a program. First start, input, values, calculate, that is calculation step, then print the final value. Now, according to the flow of control in a program, for example, just to go through this program script, print Silver Hills Public School, next statement is print welcomes you. What will be the output? See, Silver Hills Public School welcomes you. Now, the flow of execution of this program is first this statement will be executed followed by this statement. Okay, this is known as flow of control in a program. Now, based on this program control flow, statements are divided into 3, that is Python statements are divided into 3: sequence, selection or decision statement, iteration or looping statement. This one, that is iteration or looping statement, we will discuss in next part. Now, we will move on to sequence, and after that selection or decision statement. Now, let us see what is selection statement, that is sequence statement. Okay, just to go through the program, there are 6 statements written here, statement 1 to statement 6. First statement is a comment. You know what is a comment? Comment will be ignored by the Python compiler. Now, the next statement is input the first number. This program is also for finding average of 3 numbers, and the second statement is for inputting the value of second number, and the third one is for third number, and the next statement is average is equal to a plus b plus c whole divided by 3. Now, you can print average. Now, what is the order of execution of this program? It start from statement 1, move on to statement 2, statement 3, followed by statement 4, etc. up to statement 6. This order is known as sequence or linear fashion, that is statements are executed one after the other. Okay. Now, we will move on to the next one, selection and decision statement, one of the important concept of this chapter. Okay. Now, in selection or decision, we have to select a certain answer, either true or false, or yes or no. Now, the condition is checked here. Based on this condition, as I said earlier, what I have to make for breakfast? It may be idli or chapati, or whether the mark is greater than 90, you can go for this one. If the mark is less than 90, you can go for this block of statement. That is known as selection or decision statement. From this, only one answer we have to select. For example, if the mark is greater than 90, then put the grade as grade is equal to A1. Okay. Suppose the mark is not greater than 90, then if the mark is less than 90, that is less than 90, and if the mark is greater than 80, put the grade as A2, like this. Okay. This is known as decision statement. Now, this selection or decision statements are again classified into 4: simple if statement, if else statement, if elif ladder, nested if else statement. Now, let us learn this one by one. First, we will see what is if statement. Now, every programming language is having its own syntax. Syntax means way of writing the statement. Just to go through this one, if statement, if condition, then there is an indentation, proper spacing is there, statement bar statements. You can have one statement or you can have number of statements. Okay. This is the way of writing if statement, that is known as syntax of if statement. Okay. Now, let us see how this if statement is executing. This is simple if statement. Now, the condition is checked here. For example, suppose I want to know that whether a particular person is eligible for voting or not. And what is the condition? You have to input age and if the age is greater than 18, that if it is true, block of statement means you can write the person he or she is eligible for voting. Eligible for voting. Okay. Otherwise, nothing. We are not considering that. Else part we are not considering here. That is why after execution of this block of statement, or if initially if the condition falls or fails, then normal statements are executed. We will see one example for this. Just to go through this example, as I said earlier, I want to check whether a particular person is eligible for voting. Now, I can write like this, age is equal to, you can input the age, then you can check if age is greater than or equal to 18, then you can print the appropriate message, you are eligible for voting. Now, let us see, suppose you have inputted age as 20. What will be the message it is printing? You will get the answer as you are eligible for voting. Okay, you are eligible for voting. Now, suppose the age given is 9. What will happen? Age is greater than or equal to 18 is not satisfied. Then which statement will be executed? This statement will be executed, that is thank you, because there is no else part. And if age is greater than 80 also, after displaying this message, you are eligible for voting, you will get the message as thank you. Okay, this is known as simple if statement. Just once again go through this one. You have to input the age, check whether the age is greater than or equal to 18. Then if it is greater than, if that condition is true, if the condition is true, that is block of statements are executed. After that, normal statements are executed. See, you are eligible for voting, then normal statement is thank you. That next statement to be executed is thank you. Now, if the age is less than 18, now what will happen? See, if the initial condition fails, then the normal statement is executed. This is known as simple if statement. Okay. Now, one more thing is, as I said, you have to put proper indentation while using this print statement. What will happen if you are not using this proper indentation? For example, suppose you wrote the program like this. If age greater than or equal to 18, there is no proper indentation. Print you are eligible for voting, print thank you. What will happen? While compiling the program, that is while you run the program, you will get an indentation error. Expected indentation block. Indentation. This error is known as indentation error. It expects an indented block, that is why there is a syntax error and it is known as indentation error. This is about the if statement, and we will see one application based question. Just to go through this one, write a program to enter the name, total salary and experience of an employee. If salary is greater than 30,000 or experience is greater than 10 years, give him an increment of 5,000. Okay. What is the condition? This is the condition decided by an organization, an application level question. If the salary is greater than, there are two conditions. If the salary is greater than 30,000 and it is not and, it is joined with an or operator, or the experience is greater than 10 years, give him an increment of 5,000. How we can write the program? You know that the logical operators like and, or and not. What is or operator? If both the conditions are true, then the final condition is true. If first condition is true and the second condition false, then the result is also true. And if the first condition false and the second condition true, then the result is also true. And if both the condition, if it is false, then the result is also false. That is known as logical or operator. Now, here also you have to join with logical operator. How you can write the program? If I am writing only that specified statement by using that if salary greater than 30,000 or experience, EXP stands for experience, greater than 10 years, then you can have a proper indentation. Then you can write salary is equal to salary plus 3000. Whatever the increment you can, it is 5000, whatever the increment you can give it. Now we will see how we can represent this using a flowchart. Okay. Now what we have to input? According to the question, we have to input salary and experience of an employee. Okay. First we will do that one. That is, we can start the program. Okay. Then as I said, you can input the values like salary and experience of the employee. Then what you have to do? Okay, you have to check the condition. If condition means if the salary is greater than, the condition is salary is greater than 30,000 or experience greater than 10 years, what we have to follow? That is, give him an increment, that is salary is equal to salary plus 5,000. Okay. And after that what we have to do? We have to display the details by using that parallelogram. You can use a connector if no proper space is there. You can, for example, I am using a connector, then I can write like this by using this connector. This is also a symbol used in program flowchart. Okay. Now the next step is I have to print the details. The details are print, then name of the employee, then salary of the employee and experience of the employee. Then after that we can stop the program by using this statement. Okay. Now just to go through this one, suppose the salary of the employee is 5,500 and experience is 9 years. What is the first condition? It is checking whether salary is greater than 30,000. It is not greater than 30,000. In that case also, what we have to do? We have to display the details. Therefore, you can connect it here. Okay, you can connect it like this. Okay. Now, suppose the salary entered is 35,000 and year of experience is 9. Just to go through this condition, salary is greater than 30,000 and experience greater than 10, it is not satisfied, but it is joined with OR operator. What will happen? You will be getting the final answer as true. Okay. Therefore, there will be an increment, salary is equal to salary plus 5,000. Okay, I think this concept is clear to you. Now we will move on to program part. Just to go through this one, very simple. First you have to input name of the employee, then you have to input salary of the employee, then you can ask for experience. Okay. Now after that you can have if statement, simple if statement. You can check whether the salary is greater than 30,000 or experience greater than 10. If it is like that, you can give him an increment of 5,000 and after that you can print the details. Okay. If this condition fails, for example, if salary is less than 30,000 and experience is less than 10, what will happen? There is no increment and what the salary we had given, accordingly all the details will be printed. This is known as simple if statement. Okay. Now we will discuss about if else statement. Okay. Just to go through this one, as I said earlier, here also we have to follow a certain syntax for writing if else statement. What is it? If, condition, then you can have statements, then there is an else part, else, followed by colon, statements. Just once again go through this one, if condition, you have to put a colon, then you have to use proper indentation, statements or statement, then you can have else statements. Okay. What is the difference between previous if and this if else statement? There is, in previous if statement there is no else part. Here we have to consider what will happen if the condition fails. Okay. Just to go through the diagram, this is the flowchart for if else statement. Condition is checked. If it is true, certain block of statements are executed. If condition is false, another set of statements are executed, and after the execution, if it is true or if it is false, then normal statements are executed. Okay. One simple example, suppose that you want to find biggest number among 2. I will show you how to draw the flowchart and how to write the program for finding biggest number. Okay. Now, for example, you can start to find the biggest among 2 numbers. Okay. Now, you can input 2 numbers, that is you can input A and B, 2 numbers A and B. Then you can use diamond shape which is used for checking the condition, check whether A is greater than B. If A is greater than B, if it is true, then you can assume that biggest number is A, biggest is equal to A. If it is false, then you can assume that biggest number is, which one is the biggest number? Biggest number is B itself. Okay. Now, what is the final answer? Now, we got which is the biggest number that you can print. Then you can have a print statement, print big. Okay. Okay. Now, let us see the flow of execution of this program. Suppose you entered 2 numbers 30 and 40. Okay. Input A comma B, 30 and 40. Now, A greater than B. It will check whether 30 greater than 40. 30 is not greater than 40, that is false. Okay. Now, which one is biggest number? Biggest number is B. Now, suppose I entered 80 and 30. Now, what is the checking? 80 greater than 30. Now, 80 is greater than 30. This part is executed, that is biggest number will be assumed as A. Now, finally, what will be the answer? Print biggest means in this case 80 will be printed, and in this case, that is 30 greater than 40, what will be the answer? That is the 40 will be printed, that is biggest number is B itself. Just to compare with this one, condition is checked, true, block of statements are executed, false, then block of statements are executed, and after that the print the biggest number is so and so. Okay. Now, we will go through one program again, write a program, same situation for the same organization. Now, they decided that there is a change in the condition. They decided that if salary is greater than 30,000 or experience is greater than 10 years, give an increment of 5,000. Otherwise, they have to satisfy all the employees. Okay. Now, they decided that if the condition is not satisfying, give him an increment of 2,000 only. Okay. Now, how we can write the program? Just to go through this one. Same as that above, means previous program, we have to input all the details. There is a small change in the program logic. If salary greater than 30,000 or experience greater than 10, you have to increment the salary by 5,000, else you have to increment the salary by 2,000. If else construct. Both the place you have to use proper indentation. Indentation is must, otherwise you will be getting an indentation error or syntax error. Okay. Now, after that you can print the details neatly. Now, we will move on to another important session, if, elif, ladder. What is it? Just to go through this diagram. It looks like a ladder itself. So many if constructs are there. Number of times you have to take decisions, that is known as if, elif, ladder. Now, just to go through the syntax, first there is an if statement. As I said earlier, there are accordingly you can have statements. If that condition fails, you can have an elif part. Again one more condition is checked, accordingly you can write the statements. Again if this condition also fails, you can have another if condition, then you can check whether that condition is satisfied, accordingly you can execute number of statements. This continues like until it all the situations fails, then there is an else statement followed by certain number of statements. Okay. This is known as if, elif ladder. Now, just to go through this diagram. First, the condition, initial condition is checked. If it is true, then statement 1 or statements are executed. If it fails, then condition 2 will be checked, then statements are executed if it is true. If both the condition fails, that is condition 1 and condition 2 fails, then condition 3 checked and accordingly statements are executed. And if this condition fails, that is all the condition fails, then statement 4 will be executed. Okay, I will give you one example here. In calculating grade of a student, suppose that the percentage is greater than 90. If this condition is true, then you can assume that grade is equal to A1. Suppose the percentage is not greater than 90, then what is the next condition you have to check? You have to check whether the percentage is greater than 80. Then if the percentage is greater than 80, you can have the grade as A2. Suppose if the mark is not, percentage is not greater than 90 and not greater than 80, and you have to check whether the percentage is greater than 70, and if it is true, then you can assume that grade is equal to B1. This will continue like this. Next one is percentage greater than 60, then percentage greater than 50, then 40, then 33. You know the grading policy in CBSE board examination. Now, when the percentage is less than 33, you can put the proper grade. Okay. This is a best example for if, elif ladder. Now, let us see how we can write the program. First, you can input the name of the student, that is, suppose that you want to generate report card for a particular student and you want to calculate the grade scored by a student. You can do like this. First, you can input the name, input, you know how to give the details, everything, name of the student. Okay. Then you can go for admission number of the student. Then you can ask for admission number. Okay, what is the admission number of the student? Okay, then you can go for, that is, you can ask what is the mark scored in English, you know how to write it. Then you can ask for, I am calculating this based on your midterm examination. Okay, since you are +1 students, English, physics, then you can have chemistry, then you can have next subject, what is it? Maths. Okay, you can ask the mark of maths. Then you can ask the marks of computer science. Now, what is the next step that we have to do? We have to calculate the total mark. Then total mark is equal to English plus physics plus chemistry, then maths, then you can have computer science. Now, you have to calculate the percentage. Percentage means total divided by the total mark out of. For example, each subject is having 100 mark, then the total mark is 500, then you can divide it simply by total divided by 5, then you will be getting percentage. Okay. Now, you got total mark and percentage of that student. Now, what is the next task to be done? You have to calculate the grade of the student. Now, you have the formula with you, as I said earlier. Then you can calculate it simply. If percentage is greater than 90, put a colon, that is the syntax of if statement. Then you can have grade is equal to A1. If it fails, then you can have elif percentage greater than 80. Then you can have grade is equal to A2. Elif percentage greater than 70. Then you can have grade is equal to B1. Okay. Elif, this is elif ladder, good example, percentage greater than 60, you can have grade is equal to B2. Okay. Now, elif, this is not over, percentage greater than 50, grade is equal to C1. Okay. This will continue like this. There are so many grade policies are that, that is this will continue, that is percentage greater than 50, then 40, then 33, now below that. Okay, this will continue like this. Now after that, after calculating this grade and percentage, you can print the report card neatly, that you know how to print the report card. You have studied this in previous chapters. Okay. Now we will move on to another question, that is how to find biggest among 3 numbers by using if-elif ladder. There are so many ways to solve this problem. First we will solve it by using if-elif ladder. Okay. Now as I said earlier, we have to learn drawing flowchart also, because art integrated learning is included in this chapter. I am giving importance to flowchart also. Okay. Now what we have to do, you can start the program, then you can input 3 numbers, again you can use the same symbol, input A, B and C. Okay. Now you can use condition, that is you can use the condition. Okay. What is the condition here? What is the condition? Suppose that the numbers are 10, 5 and 3. How will you find out the biggest among these 3 numbers? If 10 is greater than 5 and 10 is greater than 3, 10 is the biggest number. Now how we can write it? If A greater than B and you can combine it with AND operator, A greater than B and A greater than C, which one is the biggest number? You can write it as big is equal to A. Okay. Suppose this condition is false. If this condition fails, this is true. If it is true, you can assume that biggest is A. Okay. Now you can check whether B is greater than A and B is greater than C. Now which one is the biggest number? Biggest number is B. Biggest number is B. If this condition fails, if this is false, then you can check for another condition, that is, no need to check the next condition, that is if A greater than B and A greater than C is not satisfied, then B greater than A and B greater than C is not satisfied. Now we understood that which number is the biggest one, C is the biggest number. Therefore you can assume that big is equal to C. Okay. This is the flowchart for finding biggest among 3 numbers. Okay. Now program part is simple. Again you have to input 3 numbers. Now you can have the condition A greater than B and A greater than C. Print A is the biggest number. Now we have joined with an elif operator, elif condition, that is if this condition not satisfies, then B greater than C and B greater than A, B is the biggest number. If both the conditions fails, that is this one is false and this one is false, then this else part will be executed and C is the biggest number. Okay. Now we will move on to another important application level question. Okay. Just to go through this one, this is for calculating electricity bill. Nowadays you may be getting electricity bill, sometimes you may be shocked after that, it may be 2000, 2500, sometimes it may be 5000, sometimes it may be about 10,000, isn't it? Okay. Now let us see how the electricity board is calculating this electricity bill. Okay. Just to go through the consumption slab and right side the rate is given. This I have copied from the net. Okay. The consumption is up to 300, but the rate the board is charging is 5.80. Okay. Now if it is up to 350, the rate is 6.60. And if it is up to 400, the rate is up to that is 6.90 per unit. That means suppose my consumption is 450 unit in 1 month, or in a particular month I have used 450 unit. How the electricity bill is calculating? Now up to 300 unit, what is the bill? 300 into 5.80. Okay, plus now next 50 unit, what is the rate? It is 6.60. Okay, that is for the next 50 unit, 50 into 6.60 plus, now my consumption is 450. Okay, now it is lying between 400 and 500. Okay, therefore the next 50 unit, what is the rate? 50 into 6.90. Now we have to calculate the remaining unit. What is the remaining unit? 450 minus 400. Up to 400 unit we already calculated. Okay, now that is unit. Suppose that unit minus 400 into what is the rate? 7.10. That is 7.10. This you have to add it up. Then you will be getting the electricity bill. This is the calculation or followed by the electricity board. Suppose the unit consumed is above 500. How the board is calculating bill is up to 300, that is 300 into 5.80, then 50 into 6.60, then 50 into 6.90, then difference is 100 into 7.10, then unit minus this value into 7.90. This way the board is calculating this electricity bill. That is why we are getting an electricity bill like 10,000 or 7,500 or more than that. Okay. Now we will move on to that program part. Suppose you want to generate electricity bill. Suppose the question is like that. First of all, you have to input consumer number. Every consumer is having a number. Then name of the consumer. Then unit consumed by the consumer. Then as I said earlier, if it is less than 300, you can simply calculate it by using unit into 5.80. Okay. Now, next you can have an L if that condition fails, you have to check whether the unit consumed is lying between 300 and 350. Accordingly, you can calculate it. Okay. If this condition fails, you can go for whether the unit consumed is less than 400. Okay. Then accordingly, you can calculate it. Okay. Now, if that condition also fails and if the unit consumed is less than 500 and if it is above 400, no need to write unit less than 400 and unit less than 500 and greater than 400 is no need to write because we already reached here. After checking this condition, we came to know that unit is less than 50. Then no need to check whether it is less than 50. Now, we have to check whether it is less than 400. And if the unit lies between 400 and 500, you have to specify only if unit less than 500. No need to specify unit greater than 400 and less than 500 because we already checked whether the unit is less than 400. Okay. Accordingly, you can calculate it. Okay. Now, after this calculation process, you can print the electricity bill neatly by stating that Kerala State Electricity Board, consumer number and name of the consumer, you can print it. You can leave proper spacing, then you can print unit consumed and the amount payable by the consumer. Okay, I think this part is clear to you, the L-leaf ladder. The main use of L-leaf ladder is if multiple cases are there or multiple conditions are there, we can go for L-leaf ladder. Best example is grade calculation and this type of questions like electricity bill, board generation and all. Okay. Now, we will move on to this is electricity bill and the unit consumed by the person is 380, see the bill 2277. Okay. Now, one more example, the unit consumed by a particular person is 650 Samson Jor and the electricity bill is 4310. Okay. Now, we will move on to another important session, that is nested if else statement. Little bit confusing. After studying the proper syntax, it is very easy to write the program. Okay, we will go through the syntax first. If condition statements. Now, this actually what is nested if else statement? If else statement coming inside another if statement, that is known as nested if else statement. Just to go through this one, this is an if statement. And this if statement includes another if else statement. and if, elif, else. This is outer if statement. That is, this outer if statement is having an inner if statement. That is why it is known as nested if else statement. While writing the syntax of this nested if else statement, you should follow the proper order and indentation. If followed by statements, again this if is part of this outer if. This if is having statements, elif is if, elif, then else, proper indentation, and these statements are part of else. Now this if, elif, else part is over here. Now what is remaining? The elif of this if statement, if, elif, else statements. Okay, you should follow the proper order and indentation while using nested if else statement. I will give you a proper example for this one. Just to go through this diagram or flowchart. Actually, what is this? Nothing is written there, means the heading is not written there. Can you identify what is the use of this flowchart? Okay. Now, first of all, you are checking that A greater than B. Assume that the values of A, B, C are, for example, 10, 5 and 2. Okay. There are 3 values A, B and C. Okay. Just to go through this flowchart, it is checking whether A is greater than B. We can put the values 10 greater than 5. Okay. It is true. If it is true, check whether A is greater than C. Okay. That is, we can put the values 10 greater than 2. That is also true. Okay. Now, what is the answer? This is true and this one is true, and what is the final answer? A is the biggest number. Okay, we got the biggest number as A. This flowchart is for finding biggest among 3 numbers. Earlier we had used one program for finding biggest among 3 numbers by joining with the AND operator like this. Okay. Now, this is another program for finding biggest among 3 numbers. Okay. Now let us see, the values are like this, 10, 15 and 2. Okay. A greater than B, that is 10 greater than 15. Is it true? No, it is false. Sorry, false. Okay. Therefore, this side will be executed. Now, it will check 15 greater than 2. 15 greater than 2 is true. Okay. Therefore, this part will be executed. Now, what is the answer? B is the biggest number. Okay. Now, we will consider another situation, 10, 15 and 20. These are the numbers. Okay. Now, it is checking that 10 is greater than 15. It is false. Now, it will check 15 greater than 20. Again, it is false. Now, which is the biggest number? C is the biggest number. This way, you can find the biggest among 3 numbers by using if else nested if statement. Okay. Now, we will see the program. You can input 3 numbers A, B and C. Now, see, A greater than B, just to compare with the previous flowchart, A greater than B. Now, what you have to check is A greater than C. Okay. Now, it is checking whether A is greater than C. If A is greater than C, then we can assume that the biggest number is A. Okay. If it fails, A is not greater than B, then you have to check whether B is greater than C. It is checking whether B is greater than C. Now, if B is greater than C, then you can print B is the biggest number. Okay. Now, if both the conditions fails, A greater than B fails, B greater than C fails, then which is the biggest number? C is the biggest number. C is the biggest number. Now, one more condition is there. A is greater than B, but A is greater than C is not satisfied. For example, 10, 2 and 40. Okay. 10 is greater than 2. That is A greater than B is true. Then the next condition it is checking is A greater than 40. Whether A is greater than 40, that is A greater than 40. For example, 10 greater than 40. This condition fails, therefore, the else part will be executed and we will get the answer as C is the biggest number. Now, we reached at the end of the session. Now, we will revise it once again what all we have studied today. We were discussing about conditional and looping constructs. Looping construct we will discuss in part 2, that is in coming session. And in part 1 we have discussed about flowchart. You know that what is a flowchart? It is a pictorial representation of a program and there are certain symbols used for drawing the flowchart. And after that we have discussed about conditional construct, selection and decision statements. Among that we have discussed about simple if statement, then if else statement, if elif ladder and after that nested if else statement. In that we have studied about how to write program, how to draw the flowchart and we have discussed about application level questions also. I think the concept is clear to you. Thank you.